I think I should warn people that this video is a waste of their time. Why? Because you can't prove there's a God. Sure you can. If you want to believe in God, it's your choice. Okay, I believe the world's flat. That's my choice. It's crazy. Choosing to believe it's flat doesn't make it flat. Exactly! Same thing. If there is no God, then Congress doesn't make a God just for the people who believe it. Just like if someone believes the world is flat, they don't make it flat just for him. Or her. Or her. Okay, but you still can't prove that there's a God. If you think about it just a little bit, if there is a God, it should be obvious. Why? Look. This is a picture of North Korea next to South Korea at night. Can you tell which one is run by a ruthless dictator and which one has a democracy? Yes, it's obvious. So if there's a big difference between a dictatorship and a democracy, then there should be even a bigger difference between a world that has a God or doesn't have a God. So if there is a God, it should be obvious. Okay. Fine, so go ahead and try and prove to me that there is a God. To do this, I'm going to need to borrow a concept from a good friend of mine and genius, Rabbi Nachum Braverman. So I want you to picture that someone broke into your car. If that happens, then I believe in God. Why? If you saw my car, no one would think there's anything in it worth stealing. If someone broke in, that would be a miracle. Okay, so someone broke into the car of one of those movie stars who lives in Los Angeles, okay? Okay, now I'm with you. And they left in the trunk all these valuables. And now there's nothing except a cheap watch with a broken strap. That must have fallen off from the thief's hands. You are pretty smart. You're not the only one who says that. Who else says that? I do. Okay, so they file an insurance claim for $5,000. And the insurance guy says, you don't have any proof anything was stolen. What do you mean? Yes, I do. The watch in the trunk. Way to go, Sherlock Holmes. However, our intrepid insurance guy comes and inspects the car and finds in the trunk all kinds of nuts and bolts and bits and pieces. And he concludes that what happened is that all these bits and pieces rattled together over many years and by themselves randomly formed into a watch. That's ridiculous. Anyone who has at least 2 brain cells that synapse at the right speed is going to realize that's a proof. Very good. Now remember what you just said. And let me ask you a question. Which one is bigger? The sun or the moon? The sun, obviously. It's not so obvious. Take a look at this. That's simple. The moon is very close and the sun is very far, so they look like the same size. Very good. Do you know how much bigger the sun is to the moon? I have no idea. Let me tell you, the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon. So to make them look the same, the sun has to be exactly 400 times the distance away. Well, how did that happen? Great question. You don't get to be Sherlock Holmes for nothing. The answer to that question is it's either a random accident or someone placed it there. Take a look at this. It's a picture of a very close eclipse. That's not an eclipse at all. I said close. But that is not our moon. That moon is called Phobos, and it's the Martian moon. It looks like it could be if it was placed a little better. Exactly my point. To get a perfect eclipse, it has to be placed. It's not going to happen by accident any more than the parts of a watch are going to accidentally form together to create a watch. Because it's not just enough for the moon to be in the right spot between here and the sun, but it has to be in a precision orbit, plane and timing, so that the sun and the moon intersect at incredibly predictable times. Wow, like clockwork. No, it's not like clockwork. Clockwork is like this. It isn't a clock in the world that is as accurate accurate as this. Let me give you an idea of the incredible precision going on here. This is from Mark Rober. I'll put a link in the description below. Let's scale it all down to give you an idea. If the sun were the size of a soccer ball, then the Earth would be 78 feet away. The moon would be the size of a grain of salt. For that grain of salt, i.e. the moon, to appear the same size as the soccer ball, i.e. the sun, there's only one spot it can possibly be in that 78-foot range. So what are the chances you could hit that spot by accident? Not very likely. About as likely as all the parts of a watch falling together by themselves randomly? Yes, probably something like that. Exactly. In fact, there is no other planet we have found that their sun and their moon falls into place like this. This is not something solar systems do unless someone organized it. Are you saying that it was specifically placed there? Exactly. Now I wonder, who could that be? Well, it wasn't me, and it wasn't me. That only leaves one other person, the insurance guy. No, we are sitting in a giant type of trunk, and we found one of the most incredibly sophisticated and precise timepieces. And you either have to say someone made it, or, like that insurance guy is claiming, all the bits of the solar system just randomly fell into place and organized themselves in this way. Oh, I see where you are going. But it gets better. To see the moon at night requires further incredible synchronicity. It has to be on the opposite side of the Earth to the sun, in exactly the right position, so it reflects back to us like a mirror. But that doesn't mean God placed it there. But you do agree it could not be random. Yes, okay, I agree. It couldn't be a chance happening. Listen, what can you infer about the thief that left his watch in the trunk? He can tell time, and he has at least one arm. Yeah, that too. So too here. You can deduce certain things about whoever did this. Like he has at least one arm? That's not where I was going. Whoever placed the sun and the moon in their positions must be very smart. Smarter than me. That's very humble of you. Yep, that's me. Smart and humble. It's a good combination. We can deduce that whoever did this has an intelligence on a higher level than what we call human intelligence. But that doesn't mean God. That depends. If you think God is like a man in white robes, or woman sitting on a cloud, you are right. It doesn't prove that. But don't get caught up in the name God. Because what we have proven is an intelligence made this happen. It is not possible that it could be random, any more than your watch could randomly form together by juggling all its parts in a box. You can call that intelligence whatever you want. We choose to call it God, but it's just a reference label. Don't read into it any more than that. Do you have any more proofs of God? Yes, many, but just stay like your guitar. What's that? Tuned in. That's not very funny. That's what my kids tell me too.